I want to say on that, the reason the board this year chose not to basically put the $345,000 or what we expected for the utility fees is we had a $350,000 increase in our rates from Fort Worth. So to try to absorb that without raising rates right now, we couldn't put it towards the INS like had been done in previous years. So that's where that extra money went. But we expect that this may be the last year we get any of those utility fees. So that's why we're looking at what the rates are going to need to look like later. One other thing I want to talk about on the PID utility fees is there was a question a couple of meetings ago by one of you to me about what has the district done with those funds. And the answer is, as far back as I could see, I looked back in as many budgets as I could see, it was about $308,000 a year, I believe. It's always been paid towards debt service. And the reason I point that out is this year, it's been said that we're using the utility fees, or we have used the utility fees to offset rates. And that's really not true. It's always been used towards debt service, with the exception of this year. But for this year, it was done thoughtfully and knowingly by the board to keep from having to do some quick rate increase to cover the next slide that I'm going to get to. There's something else I want to add while we're on this subject, because one of you asked me about this last week, and that is, I don't know what I said, okay, but apparently someone misunderstood what I said, in that I did not say that we use the PID utility fees to buy down the rates from Fort Worth. That's not at all what the board did in this year's current fiscal year budget. We know that Fort Worth's rates, we project, if we sell what we think we are going to, it was going to amount to about a $300,000 increase. So instead of transferring those PID utility fees over into INS this fiscal year, we left them as they're just in the general fund as a backup in case it's needed, while we had time to look at rates and where they need to go. That doesn't mean that next fiscal year we can't take those utility fees and put it towards INS if we don't use them. But it's better to have it there in case you need it than to not have the money you need when it gets to be the end of the year. So I want to point that out, because I may have said that, and I apologize if I did, but that's certainly not what I meant.